There we go. So first off, I will introduce Effective Altruism and Effective Altruism Cambridge, and then I'll hand over to Savan from the Vegan Society. So in the Effective Altruism community, we try to answer one simple question: how can we use our resources to help others the most? One way we try to do this is by using evidence and careful analysis to think about the biggest problems in the world, and of those problems, what the most promising and neglected solutions might be. Then follow through in trying to enact those solutions with our careers, donations, and political choices. And Effective Altruism Cambridge is a community of people who follow these principles and are trying to do the most good. And within the community, we host talks such as this one, as well as fellowships, reading groups, mentoring, and socials. And if you'd like to learn more, check out our new, very fancy new website, which I will post in the chat now, eacambridge.org. I'm very happy with how it turned out. So there we go. Check out our website. And now I will hand over to Savan from the Cambridge Vegan Society.
Hi everybody, my name is Savan and I'm the president of the Cambridge Vegan Society. Thank you so much to Dewi and Andre from, as we've heard, Effective Altruism Cambridge and the Humane League for making this event possible and inviting us to be co-hosts on this event. I've got to see a bit of it beforehand, so I'm very excited for getting started. But just to let everyone know that we have a couple more events going on this term, including the most recent, the event coming up soon, which is this Saturday, which is going to be a little social. And also for future events, we've got our term card on our Facebook page if you want to check that out. But thank you very much. And I'll hand it over to Andre from the Humane League to introduce the society.
Thank you. Right, so I'm going to start sharing my screen and I'm going to need a thumbs up from people if they can see it or some sort of acknowledgement. So how does that look? Awesome. Right, so thanks everyone for being here. And very big thank you to Dewi, Salvin, and Fran who helped us organize this. This is a talk that will essentially give you an overview about THL, what we do as a organization, and we'll go through some of our campaigns, how you can get involved, and we'll also have, so I think, unless we've already gone over it, the format will be, we'll have a talk for about 35 to 40 minutes. Then we'll have a Q&A session. And then at the end, I think there'll also be the opportunity for everyone to discuss amongst themselves a couple of prompts or also just anything that stood out from the presentation in breakout rooms. So we'll kick off by introducing ourselves. So I'm Andre. I'm a regional rep for THL. I joined in 2020, which admittedly is a weird time to join a sort of community building role. I have had a mixed relationship with veganism and activism throughout time, but obviously today it has somewhat changed to working with THL because it's a cause that I really care about, a cause area that I really care about, and I think this is a good way to make a difference. I work as a software engineer in financial technology, and I have 5 cats and 2 dogs. Also on this call, we've got Clara, who is our fundraising officer. Clara will introduce herself for a bit.
Thanks, Andre. Yes, I'm really glad to be here tonight. And I'm Clara, as Andre said. I'm the donor and supporter engagement coordinator at the Humane League UK. And I too was started as a volunteer in 2017 for the organisation and really enjoyed just the kind of great community feel it had volunteering. And as Andre said, it really felt like this was a way that I could make a difference and felt like I really found my purpose. And now I kind of oversee the fundraising activities, including peer-to-peer fundraising at the Humane League UK. I've been working with the organisation for 2 years now. So yeah, I'm hoping if anyone has any questions later, like between the 3 of us, we will be able to answer those. And I too have 2 dogs, but no cats. I'm going to pass to Abby.
Hi everyone, my name is Abby. and I'm also a THL regional rep for London, same as Andre. And I started volunteering for THL in 2019 because I've been vegan for 5 years now, and I always wanted to get into animal advocacy with the desire to help make the world a better place for animals and also to meet like-minded people. But I also wanted to make sure I joined a charity that really aligned with my values and where I could really feel like I was making a difference. So when I found THL and learned about their campaign strategy, which we'll be going through tonight, the philosophy just really resonated with me. And through the kinds of campaigns that we do, you can see real change taking place. And that's incredible to be a part of. So tonight, we're going to talk to you about the work we do at THL. We're going to go through our mission, our campaign strategy, why our campaigns are effective, and also how you can help if you're interested. So whether you already know about us or have never heard about us, hopefully you'll learn all about why we do what we do and how it is effective.
Brilliant. So we'll start by giving a bit of a sort of introduction history to THL, how we started, what our mission is, what our core values are, and a little bit about what it's like to work with volunteers with THL. So THL started as a grassroots organization in 2005 in the United States. And it has since matured to have a presence in Mexico and the UK and in Japan. And we've also adapted our approach to be, I think, a bit more strategic, a bit more research-based, where today is a mix of both that sort of grassroots activism, energy and commitment, and a more strategic way of doing things and organizing around the things that are most impactful. So one example of what makes THL so effective is that we're part of a international organization called the Open Wing Alliance, which I think points to sort of basic fact about activism and about trying to create change in general, which is coordination. So a lot of the campaigns that THL will have with, let's say, companies or producers in the UK might also translate well abroad. And so we've got lots of organizations that are part of the Open Wing Alliance, and we keep an open conversation with them and see in what way they can support our campaigns and in what ways we can support their campaigns. So the mission we have, very simply put, is to exist. We exist to end the abuse of animals raised for food. So this might be something that seems self-evident to you to begin with, or it might be something that you want some clarification on, depending on whether you're coming from a sort of abolitionist perspective, i.e. just stop factory farming altogether, not consume any sort of animal products whatsoever. And the way we achieve, we try to achieve this I think, a quite lofty goal is a sort of two-pronged approach, which I'll let Abby walk you through.
Yeah, thank you. So number one of our approaches is institutional change. So we hold corporations accountable for their actions and their welfare policies. And our campaigns aim to influence the world's biggest companies to create and implement animal welfare policies that abolish the worst forms of abuse. So this will reduce the suffering of billions of animals all over the world. And at the moment, this work is focused on chickens, but we've also just announced our work on fish welfare too, which we'll be going through later in the presentation. And as well as campaigning for institutional change, we also advocate for individual change. So encouraging people to leave animals off their plate and go vegan. So these two both go hand in hand, institutional change and individual change. But tonight we are going to talk mostly about institutional change, our campaigns, and we'll touch on individual change briefly. So as an organization, we pride ourselves primarily on being effective, utilizing the philosophy of effective altruism that I'm sure many of you are familiar with. So we have a hybrid approach, which is sometimes strategic and other times more aggressive and grassrooty. And we find that this flexibility is what best drives incremental change within the industry. So our work is always grounded in sound research and a commitment to effective animal protection. And that's why our research arm, the Humane League Labs, conducts studies and makes practical recommendations that inform our future strategies and tactics. And as you can see here, we have been rated as a top effective charity by Animal Charity Evaluators, which is a meta charity that assesses the concrete impact that other charities in this space have. And we were awarded this in 2018 and also in 2019 and 2020.
So I'll talk a bit about our campaigns and the way we approach our campaigns, generally speaking. So there's, I think, two ways that I can think of that we make our campaigns, we design our campaigns to be effective. So one of them is to tackle industry giants. The reason we do this is because industry giants will have the most potential to reduce suffering in their supply chain. So if you think about something like a, like a fish and chip shop down the road from you, and then you think about McDonald's, there's a big difference in the impact that you could have if you convinced one rather than the other to improve the welfare measures that they have in their supply chain. So that's one side of it. Another side of it is to focus on the areas that have the most potential, again, to focus on the area that has the most potential to reduce suffering. And for example, broiler chicken is one of the most egregious examples of the lack of chicken welfare and supply chains. And we'll go through that in a little bit of detail. It's not going to be graphic or anything, just in case people are worried about that, but it might be slightly uncomfortable. So these are two of the considerations that we take into account when we design our campaigns. So I'll let Clara, I think, go through something that is really recent for THL, which is our campaign for fish welfare.
Thanks, Andre. I wasn't entirely clear whether I was going to present on this, so just bear with me for one sec. I'll get up the slide myself. So yeah, as has been said, that we've been more recently extending our work to also focus on fish and not only chickens. So it's something, again, that has been introduced in October 2020. And so this is something that we are now going to be taking forward as an organization, and is something that will take a priority throughout this year. And yeah, we are really hoping that with this new aspect of our work, we can reach and change more hearts and minds out there as well. I think everything else, Andrew, you've kind of said about this, so sorry about that confusion.
No worries. Just for context, guys, we were sort of deciding which slides would get covered by who, but it's not a gap at all. Yeah, so moving on from this, I think Abby's got a couple of things to say about our campaign against cages for egg-laying hens.
Yeah, thank you. So this was our first campaign here in the UK. Initially, when we started here in 2016, we built on success from our branch in the US, and we focused our efforts on freeing egg-laying hens from cages. So campaigning for a switch from cages to cage-free systems in the egg industry. Because here in the UK, there are over 38 million egg-laying hens, and in the US, that's around 320 million, and worldwide, 7.6 billion. And the UK consumes over 12 billion eggs per year, which is a number that I find it hard to wrap my head around, but it's true. And whilst battery cages have been banned in the EU since 2012, they were replaced by the not much better enriched cages. So progress has been incremental, moving from the basic overcrowded cages to slightly bigger, slightly more comfortable enriched cages, and finally to a barn system in the top right-hand corner there. So this barn system is where chickens can spread their wings, perch, and walk around. But it's still not really what we're aiming for in terms of chicken welfare, because of course the quality of the cage is not the only factor that impacts their welfare. They are still bred unsustainably to maximize their economic value, and even in this barn system, they're susceptible to diseases due to the conditions they're kept in. And although the industry is improving, they still don't have enough space, because even chickens kept in the highest level of comfort at factory farms, which is that top right-hand photo there, they're still not seeing the light of day. They're still not granted the space to walk around or access to nature. And this is why we are still campaigning to improve their standard of life. So building on this progress, our outreach and campaigns here in the UK are working to get every major and mid-sized retailer to pledge to end the sale of eggs from caged hens by 2025. And the examples here are companies that have already taken this pledge. And the UK's biggest food service and catering companies have also pledged to go cage-free, which is a great success all around. As well as 75% of the restaurant market, and many of these in favour of exclusively free-range options as well. So to date, we have been involved in over 94 UK corporate commitments, and nearly all major hotels, food service, restaurant chains, manufacturers and retailers have made commitments to be cage-free by 2025 or earlier. And as you can see on the graph here, the progress we are making is also getting hens out of cages altogether. So this data is from DEFRA, the Department for the Environment, Food and Rural Affairs, and it shows the increasing trend of free range, which is slowly replacing the cage systems, which is incredibly positive.
Thank you, Abby. So we'll move on to another big focus for THL, which essentially happened because we've noticed that this momentum is now behind this shift to free range and maybe to cutting out factory farming from the perspective of egg laying hens altogether. We have sort of transitioned into a focus on, so we had transitioned at the time towards a focus on broiler chickens. So broiler chickens are just chickens reared for their meat. And there's a really good reason why broiler chickens are a good area to focus on. And I don't know how much people like numbers on this call, but this is a pretty staggering statistic. So this is the increase in broiler chicken farming in about 50 years, 57 years, and we can see a massive increase in the number of chicken that are reared for meat throughout time. Now, even if you didn't have access to this graph to see the growth, a simple comparison between the number of chickens that get slaughtered for the same amount of meat versus other animals which are factory farmed is staggering in itself. So I'll give you some of the numbers. In 2018, so we had 68 billion chicken slaughtered for meat, 1.48 billion pigs, and then 302 million cattle. So to put that into perspective, and I think this is, again, like Abby said earlier, it's something that's really hard to wrap your head around. For every cow that gets slaughtered for its meat, around 225 chickens die for the same reason. So we have about 1 billion chicken per year farmed just in the UK. We have 8.5 billion in Europe. And again, worldwide, this is a little bit older than 2018, I think, but around 68 billion as of that statistic, broiler chickens farmed for meat. So I want to walk you through some of the reasons why we think the welfare measures for broiler chickens are so out of, they're not sufficient for these animals. We know they're inquisitive animals. We know they like to perch. We know they like to forage. They like to spread their wings, walk around. They have a sort of rudimentary social system. We can tell that in the EA sense for THL, we consider chickens to be moral patients. So one quite important way that in which their welfare is reduced is selective breeding. So what I'm going to go through here is the way that selective breeding has changed how quickly chicken grow throughout time. So in 1957, a newly born chick was about 0.07 pounds, and it took 28 days for it to go to 0.7 pounds, and then another 28 days for it to get to 2 pounds, which was about the time that it would get slaughtered, right? So in 1957, if you were buying a chicken, the odds are that on average you'd get a 2-pound chicken, right? That changes in 1975. Fully grown 56-day slaughtered chicken would weigh about 4 pounds. And again, this is down to selective breeding, which means that chickens were purposely bred for the rapidity of their growth and for the final weight, because heavier chickens means you get more you get more meat per chicken, which is a very economist sort of bottom line argument to make. And so bringing this to the present, you can see that this trend accelerated, and now chicken slaughtered at the same age, 56 days, which is not a lot, right? 56 days is not a significant portion of a chicken's lifetime in the wild. This chicken would be 9 pounds, right? So to us, this is quite staggering. This, as you might imagine, has ramifications for the chicken's well-being, and that means they have really bad health conditions arising from this rapid growth. One of them being they have heart attacks and they just fall over and they can't get back up. They are too heavy for their legs to sustain their weight, so they fall again. They also tend to not stand as much because they're so heavy again, and that means that they get burns from the litter in the enclosure where they are. And this leads to, this culminates with slaughter at 5 to 6 weeks of age. So it's even less than 56 days now, and it's not, I wouldn't say that it's mostly the case that slaughter is done in a way that accounts for the welfare of these chickens. So without being, too graphic, too in detail, these chickens are usually hung with their feet up by a sort of conveyor belt that moves into a sort of electric bath, I think, that stuns them before they are essentially boiled, and then they move on to further processing. So one key detail about that is that not all chickens are stunned correctly, which means that some of them will get to be boiled alive, which is extremely painful. And there are various ways in which this their life can be made much better. So I'll let Abby walk you through some of those ways. No more graphic chicken stuff for now.
Thank you. So yeah, like Andre said, it's for all of these reasons, all of these poor welfare reasons, that we, THL, along with many other leading animal protection organisations, came together to create a united ask for organisations to sign up to in the UK and in wider Europe, to create better minimum standards for broiler chickens. So this ask is known as the Better Chicken Commitment, or the BCC, as we call it. And it includes 4 key areas of welfare improvements, including more space, more light, more enrichment, such as perches and hay available, and using higher welfare breeds, as opposed to the current breed, as you saw, which has been strategically engineered to produce the most meat. And also more humane slaughter methods through controlled atmospheric killing, which is an improvement on the current water bath stunning system, which is extremely inefficient. And this ask isn't the end, not by a long way, because of course we want to outlaw the killing of animals entirely. But our research has shown that by implementing these small changes, we are working to eliminate the worst forms of abuse happening right now across the animal agricultural industry for the animal that suffers in the greatest numbers, which are chickens. So over the past few years, through our campaigning, we are so pleased that across the manufacturing sector, the restaurant sector, and the hotel sector, there are now over 200 BCC commitments. And last year, we had some great successes. We had some huge players signing up, including KFC, Nando's, Greggs, and more. And KFC was actually the first of the huge fast food giants to make the move for the UK. And this change, this improvement in their welfare, is a change that will affect over 64 million chickens every year. So that means that currently over 25% of the UK chicken market will be at BC standard when these improvements are put in place. And that will affect over 300 million birds per year. And that number is constantly growing. And one of our recent highlights at the end of 2020 was that we launched a campaign against Franco Manca, and they agreed to sign up to the BCC the day after our online campaign actions. So that's one of the ways in which we can really see success happening as we volunteer. So with clear demand from retailers, we have also seen pledges to supply chickens that meet the ECC, which is the European Chicken Commitment, analogous to the BCC. So we've seen pledges to supply chicken that meet these standards from the largest poultry producer in the UK, Two Sisters, who are also the 5th largest producer in Europe. And we also know that Moy Park, another poultry producer, will also be able to supply ECC standard chicken, since they supply to Waitrose, who as a company have already committed. And through these campaigns, we found that the producers of chicken are moving forward on this issue much quicker than they were with eggs. And it's clear that they not only recognise that this is an area that really needs progress, but it's clear that making these small incremental changes through these types of campaigns creates almost a ripple effect of subsequent changes in the industry. But of course, the fight does continue, and we will not stop until our mission is achieved to end the abuse of all animals raised for food. And we have a wonderful network of volunteers based all across the UK who are absolutely essential in driving our campaigns forward. And with their help, we can continue to fight against companies and encourage individuals to do the right thing for animals everywhere to go vegan. And although most of our campaigning takes place online, especially right now, exclusively online, we usually have a strong presence on the ground as well in protesting. And when we start a campaign, we first contact the company privately to have a conversation about animal welfare and ask if they're willing to commit to improving their standards. But if they are not, then we embark upon an aggressive public online campaign. And we also organise peaceful protests, such as the one in the photo here, socially distanced protest in London. So we normally organise these all across the UK, and we always notify the companies of this beforehand. So all of this work that we've been talking about, all of these campaigns are coupled with the second prong of our work, which is our plant-based outreach, which is generally raising awareness and talking to people about leaving animals off their plates. So this takes many different forms in our work. You can see here some snippets from our social media, and it inevitably intertwines with our campaign outreach for institutional change. So they combine in leafleting, protesting, in talking to people, and sharing images like this. But it also comes exclusively into play through our PBR campaign, Plant-Based Revolution, where we share recipes, ideas, and support in an effort to encourage people to go plant-based completely.
Thank you, Abby. So we'll talk to you a little bit about how you can get involved and help THL achieve this mission. So I guess a little bit more abstractly, THL is a fantastic community of volunteers and employees first and foremost, right? So this community is exactly what drives that change. We have people doing all sorts of different things that all feed into the same sort of overall goal. And I think the diversity of opinions and of views and of approaches is useful for a lot of what we do. So to that end, I think we have taken steps to make involvement as frictionless as possible. So we have something called the Fast Action Network, which is a way for people to take regular actions online. It basically works as a sort of newsletter that tells you what you could do to support an ongoing THL campaign. There's information about why we're doing what we're doing and so on. So this is for Yeah, this is for people who maybe do not have a lot of time to dedicate to this, but would still like to be involved and would like to support the mission. The next level from that is becoming a THL volunteer. So THL volunteers are, they're a little bit more involved with the actions, a little bit more involved with the campaigns. We, as regional reps, typically would do community organizing sort of locally. We would meet in person. That's not happening right now, but that would have happened usually. So right now, the way we're getting people together is we have these virtual animal action meetups where we take actions and socialize at the same time. And it's really quite a lovely atmosphere. And I think it's a supportive environment. And it really enables you to do your best. And I think it's an open enough community that you can ask questions that around things that maybe you don't understand about activism yet, or you don't understand why a particular campaign was started or why we're doing it. And you will get reasonable, detailed answers about why we do what we do. So there is another way in which you can get involved, which is donating, which Clara will tell you about.
Thanks, Andre. And yeah, just to kind of second that as well, I think volunteering with the Humane League UK is incredibly special in the sense that right now with COVID, it's all getting a bit more tricky, but our volunteering team has done a really great job of kind of adapting, but especially when we can actually do things. It's really great to be able to see people from the community in your local city and to meet up and to take action together and take ground actions together. And it really kind of make friends for life as well. Like I know I have, and I know I can't wait to kind of go back to like protests and these kind of actions when they open back up. And yeah, so to talk a little bit about fundraising. So I'm just checking on the slides. Andre, would you be able to, because they should be animated, can you click 2 back?
Yes.
If that's okay. Sorry about that.
No.
My bad. I should have. Oh no, it didn't work.
It just jumps to it unless I'm doing something wrong.
It's fine. We don't really. It's not really. It's not that important. Because my main point really is that another way to get involved with us is by raising funds. So there are many ways to do this. Many fundraisers in the past have included physical challenges. So you can do runs, cycles, or swims. People have done marathons, or creative challenges like maybe nature cleans, or you can think about something else like giving up alcohol for a while, or if you're not vegan yet but would like to try it, then that could be a great way to like hold yourself accountable by running a fundraiser. And it's also something that you could do as a society because you've already got a great group together. So you could organize, when COVID kind of is less of a thing, a vegan cake sale or an on-campus group event. Maybe if you have a raise and give society on campus, they may be able to lend a hand as well. And you can connect your fundraiser to us through Facebook, Instagram, and Just Giving. So we are there, we have profiles, so you can kind of connect your fundraiser with our profile, if you know how Just Giving works. But if you're unsure what to do, or you need any material to like promote your fundraiser, you can just drop me a line. My email is there. And you can also email info@humaneleague.org.uk. That also comes to me. And we can chat about fundraising ideas and kind of how to implement those. And just to say that by fundraising, you can really maximize your impact as an activist in the sense that you are raising funds, so you're like fueling the campaigns and actions that you take part in by fundraising. So you kind of like carrying out these actions and at the same time fueling them. And it also is something that's great for your personal development, because when you do a challenge like that, it does really show you kind of your commitment to the cause. And many people have kind of found that who've done a fundraiser for us, including myself. And then so the next point being is that, of course, as a charity, we really, really appreciate any donations that anyone can make within their means. Perhaps this is something that you can consider yourself or want to consider, or something that you can suggest to someone that you know. And as you can see here, for every £1 raised, we can positively impact up to 940 broiler chickens or 160 laying hens. And that's quite a lot when you think about just the impact of £1, and then think about, you know, how far £10 or 100 or £1,000 could take us. So whether you fundraise or donate or get someone to donate, like, these are all considerations. And then could you click to the next slide? Thank you.
I think I can take it from here, Clara.
Okay, great.
Thank you for that. So I think it might have come across throughout this talk that our policy is very much centered on incremental changes. So we can maybe talk about that in the breakout rooms, or we could have Q&A stuff about it. But essentially, it's our view is rooted in the fact that this change is occurring today because of things that people are doing with their time day to day. And this doesn't just mean people that work with THL. This means people like you, some of who might be vegan or might have reduced the consumption of animal products. So I sort of want to reiterate towards the end that it is possible to make a change in a quite large and entrenched sector, and nonetheless something that is quite, yeah, I don't want to say polarizing, but it's something that people care about, right? So it's difficult to discuss maybe people's diet choices and the way they consume foods and not conflate that with issues around welfare. So we think that this is very much a discussion that people should have, and we're working to build that momentum towards this being something that is widely accepted, right? So I want to sort of wrap up on that.
Excellent. Awesome. Thank you very much, Andre, for that. Andre, Abby, and Clara, for that very insightful talk. We'll now head over to a Q&A before heading into breakout rooms for a discussion in smaller groups. If you have a question, you're welcome to either post your question in the chat or type in question, and then I will unmute you so you can ask your question yourself. So if you have any questions, either post a question in the chat or type in just the word question, and I will unmute you and you can say your question. And maybe I'll kick us off with a quick question. Andre, what's been like a highlight for you in your current experience with the Humane League?
Good question. Yeah, so Abby mentioned the campaign against Franco Manca. We also had one recently against Tops Pizza, which turned out to be really, really positive really quickly. Sometimes I find it incredible that things can happen so quickly. So one thing that I don't struggle with, but I'm sort of reserved when I take joy in these things, is that they only commit to making these changes by some date. So I only wish that it could just be an instant thing where if we've reached a certain number of tweets and they've signed on for it, then all of a sudden the supply chain is a lot better for their chickens. So I think it's, yeah, to boil down to a simplish answer, it's the community aspect of it, interacting with people at THL, with my colleagues, regional reps, with volunteers, and just seeing the changes happen, right? So I like having a shorter feedback loop between the actions that we take and the changes that do happen. And yeah, I'm sort of aware that probably behind the scenes there is some more strategic stuff going on, but it is really nice to see these campaigns culminate into really positive wins for the chickens.
Awesome. Yeah, does anyone else have any questions? Oh, Asha has a question on what is your opinion on eating local chickens? So maybe this is like if your neighbor had chickens or something.
Abby, do you want to take that one? I don't want to take up the whole conversation. Or
Clara. Yeah, sure. My personal opinion is that I wouldn't, because I'm just vegan, so I want yeah, I don't want to hurt any animals, and I wish that we could live in a vegan world today. But from a more welfarist perspective, I think that's definitely a better way to go if you're looking to reduce your impact of suffering to animals. It's mainly the huge factory farms that with the poor welfare that we're fighting against, and that's the first step. So yeah, I think local chicken, local produce is a lot better in those terms, but it depends on your personal values and yeah, what you're working towards.
I have one thing I want to add to that. I absolutely agree with Abby. Another thing that comes to mind is, I guess, how scalable this choice is across everyone who might want to eat local. So the reason factory farms exist is that the demand for meat is quite high. And yeah, the companies that do these producers do it because it makes sense economically. So if it made sense economically to have all chickens reared locally and free range and that sort of thing, then maybe that would be a different sort of reality to live in. But as it stands, I don't think that maybe that's an option for everyone. But again, it's down to a diet choice. And I guess one anecdote on that is one event that sort of catalyzed my going vegan was when I come from a sort of conservative family from Romania, and we raised chickens, right, when I was younger. And when I was 17, my dad asked me to slaughter a chicken because we were going to make some soup or something. And it really wasn't pleasant. It was traumatizing. So whenever I think about that, that thought, that sort of like, is it okay to maybe eat chicken now if I know that, we've raised them, they were healthy, they were happy, they had room to move around? And for me personally, the answer is no, because I wouldn't have, maybe to be quite blunt, I wouldn't have it in me to slaughter that chicken myself and kill it. I know that's not an argument, it's just sort of an anecdote. Yeah.
I think the next question is aimed at Clara.
Yeah, so the question is, do you know how you got the information that £1 changes the welfare of around 900 broiler chickens, etc.? So maybe it'd be good to go back in the slides to get this information. And this is from Alice. And yeah, I guess this is like a question of like a theory of change question in terms of like, how is this £1 changing the welfare? And then maybe how have these numbers actually arisen or been calculated?
Thanks for that question, Alice, and thanks, Debbie. Yes, so I was thinking someone was going to ask that, so I'm just going to, for once, copy and paste the link from the source. So this is the Sentience Institute. They do some great research into farm animal welfare issues, and this is where we got the estimate from. So we kind of took the very like average middle estimate. So it's not like the highest number, but it's not the lowest number that could be impacted, but it is like the middle ground. And so this number, when we say positively impact, this is what Andre's been talking about when it comes to broiler chickens. They are these fast-growing breeds, often used in by many companies on factory farms. So that means that they grow incredibly fast and they can't kind of even extend their own weight. They also live in very filthy conditions that have no access to natural light, and they don't have enough space, and a lot of the time don't have these enrichments that they need to go after their natural behaviors. And then of course the slaughter method as well, which is the life shackling, which can be very, very painful for many birds and extremely traumatizing if you get boiled alive. Horrible. And so as has been kind of explained about the Better Chicken Commitment, these practices are being addressed in the Better Chicken Commitment to improve the living conditions for animals. So by donating that £1, that means that the birds, 940 birds, are not like saved from a factory farm, but they are having the standard of life improved. So I hope that makes a bit of sense. And yeah, I also would highly recommend having a look at that Sentience Institute source and just at the Sentience Institute in general, because there's some like really great research if you are an EA-minded person. And I also, when I said this, was thinking you might be interested in reading the age review, because Abby said, you know, there's been quite a few years that we have been named top charity, actually since 2012, and we're the only charity to have received that distinction since 2012. So like these years in a row. So I'm just gonna leave that here with you as well.
Excellent. Thank you, Clara. Does anyone have any final questions before we head out into some breakout rooms? And also maybe a note from me, we would be very grateful if you could please fill in this feedback form that I've just popped in the chat. And this will help us make sure that we can continue to improve these talks. So if you have any feedback for EA Cambridge, Vegan Society, or THL, please do pop it in this feedback form. Nice. Okay. Yeah, it seems like maybe there's no more questions. So I shall pop us all into breakout rooms. Yeah, so I'll pop us into breakout rooms. And yeah, what we'll do is we'll have like an approximately 15-minute chat. And I'll try and get it fairly balanced so that people are in like rooms with a lot of different people. So we'll have 3 breakout rooms, and then yeah, in 15 minutes we'll come back. And then if people need to leave, you can leave. If people want to like go into another breakout room, you're welcome to do that. And if anyone needs to run now, that's no problem. Thank you for joining. And yeah, I'll pop these discussion prompts in the chat, so you can have some discussions based on these discussion prompts. There we go. Maybe we'll have 2 breakout rooms. Yeah, I'll wait until we've like stabilized the attendance or something. Nice, cool. Yeah, we'll just have 2 breakout rooms then.
Joey, do you want to keep recording through the rooms? I don't know how that works.
Yeah, good plan. I shall switch off the recording. Thanks for